Time in the office is 9 o'clock. We're going to start this meeting. So let's all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I missed that another day. Right. So let's see who's first on our agenda today, and that would be Miss Christina Clemens.
Yes, I'm just going to do
Miss
the
Meredith
introduction. So,
Lloyd is
also
here.
known as Meredith Lloyd.
Also known.
So good morning, everybody. I'm going to introduce our speakers this morning, but in October, you approved our MOA that we've had with Coastal Horizons for many, many years, and they provide some supports for both parents, families, and our students. And so it was asked to have some additional information about the ART group, which is the Aggression Replacement Therapy group that is housed within some of our schools. So Ms. Christina Clemens is the program director, and she has brought with her Holly Gibbons, who is one of the school-based outpatient therapists that also works with the ART program. And so they're going to provide some information regarding the program, the outcomes, and then answer any additional questions that you may have. Okay? All right, come on up, ladies. So this is Christina.
Hi, Christina.
And there's Holly.
Welcome.
Yes, for having us. So, aggression replacement training, also called the art group, which confuses everybody because they assume we're going to do arts and crafts. We are not. Is a lot of people are like, my kid doesn't like crafts. I'm like, yeah, we're not going to do that. So, it's a 10-week course offered in middle and high schools in Brunswick County. Over the school year, it's done during the school day so that kids don't have to be transported to our office. We don't have to rely on that parent problem of getting them there. And they're usually pulled out of, I always call it like pride time, flex time.
Just middle school and high school. Is that
Just
what
middle and high school. We can do elementary schools. It's just a little bit different in programming. So we've always just done the middles and the highs. Middle has been very successful over the years. Highs, we're still trying to kind of get in and make that work. Their schedules make it a little bit more difficult, of course, because they're not all in one place like the middle schoolers are. They focus on diminishing aggressive behaviors, social skills, awareness, and then kind of like some moral reasoning stuff in there also. Anybody can recommend to come over to us. So DSS sends us referrals, DJJ. We have parent referrals. We have therapist referrals from our office and from other offices. The Juvenile Crime Prevention Council pays for this programming, so it doesn't cost kids anything, and we don't have to figure out their insurance. They don't have to change their clinical home. So if they're seeing a therapist who's not Coastal Horizons, then they don't have to change that around and then come to see us, just because Medicaid and certain insurances won't pay for different services, so they don't have to do any of that. They just have to fill out that initial paperwork with the parent, and then they come over to us for that program. At the end of the program, whoever referred us gets like a report card per se, so pretty much says this is what we saw in our groups, this is what we're recommending moving forward, which may say, hey, we feel like this kid could really benefit from some additional mental health services, or this really met what they needed for DJJ or for DSS or for the school resource officer, whoever. And then they do check-ins while they're in the group also with whoever sent them. We work mainly with the guidance counselors, but of course with other people also. And I'm gonna let Holly speak on just kind of like numbers and that kind of thing, since she kind of manages that. I just kind of oversee the higher level things.
So like Christina said, the middle schools we are primarily in right now. Usually we try to do a fall and a spring group depending on, you know, all the circumstances. Like last fall we had that big weather episode, so we were delayed a little bit, but we were still able to do a group. It wasn't as big as we hoped, but we still ended up with, I think, around like 25 people completing our fall group, and then the spring group we had around 25 doing that one as well. Right now we have 24 students enrolled, and that's across all of the middle schools. So I've really been trying to reach out to the counselors, the teachers, you know, the admin, and saying like, hey, if you have anybody, please recommend, because we really want to get these numbers up to get as many kids as we can to get in this course, so we can kind of cut down on classroom disruptions, office referrals, suspensions even, and hopefully, you know, getting to reach as many as we can. And like Christina said also, we do regularly check in with school counselors. So if there are people that during the fall are kind of starting to show some of those behaviors, we could work on a referral for the spring. Or if there's like rising sixth graders and, you know, trying to get into the high schools, but rising ninth graders, we're trying to coordinate enough to be able to get them in the fall groups to keep our numbers pretty decent, and then also eliminating the issue of people who don't get along being in the same group.
Right.
So one might be offered in the fall, one might be offered in the spring, and kind of divvying up where those students go to make sure that there aren't any increase in issues with that. But yeah, we're averaging around 25 in the fall and the spring, and
Do you work with students with disabilities at all, or is it just regular ed students?
There are some EC kids who attend. It's kind of just, we kind of discuss it with the guidance counselor, with those EC teachers, since we're already involved with a lot of those kids, to just see, can they manage this group? Can they manage being with the regular Gen Ed kids too? So there are some, but it just, it's kind of case by case, depends on what they can handle.
Right.
So have you seen, how long has this been in effect, this program?
Decade.
Okay, so
In
what
our
kind of
schools-
results have, I mean, do you have, you know, I mean, are you showing,
specific like graduation completion rates.
I mean, like classroom, I mean, after 10 weeks, did this particular child go back and say, oh, the teacher, oh yeah, this has really been helpful, it's been beneficial, we're seeing less behavior issues? I mean, how do you measure the success of the program?
So the JCPC has a list of qualifiers that we have to put in when the kid starts and then when they leave also. So have they had any new suspensions? Have they had any new problems with what they were referred to originally? I would say we've seen a ton of success, but we've also seen kids who have been through the group more than once, and the first time was not a success. Then they come back, and there's a kid I spoke about years ago that I was in group with, and he came back and he was like, I hated every group that I went into with you last time, but this time I actually liked it because I actually paid attention and I was listening. So I think when they're ready, then they get what they need from it, like anything else. But for the most part, the success rates are pretty higher. Like evaluation rates are usually in the 95 and above, so they're not re-offending for what they were sent in for originally.
And it is a little tricky to measure because sometimes there aren't students that we follow up with. Like we'll do the group and then they'll go back to their general classes, and that'll be that'll be our only interactions with them. But some of the students that are our clients, and we can kind of follow along, we can say, oh, well, they haven't been sent to the office in the last 9 weeks, and that was like an everyday thing before we did the group. So there are things that we say, or there will be a teacher that will say like, hey, I know I sent Johnny to, you know, the group room every day when you were doing the group, and I run into them in the hallway and say, hey, he's doing really good. Or the SRO might say like, hey, so-and-so in that group last month, they're not in my office every day anymore. So there's kind of like that word of mouth reporting more so than like the specific
Yeah, that's right.
the behavior calculations. But
Molly, have we had any feedback from the principals on it? Like,
Yes, it's been very positive. It's another one of their resources that they can utilize. I think the coordination with law enforcement too, and then we've talked about some of the opportunities for kids to avoid having more law enforcement. So I think them speaking to middle school specifically and that support and having another layer before we have to go that route has been very beneficial, and the reoccurrence of students that have participated has been strong. And we're seeing some of that in that deep data dive we're doing with discipline. So we just did our first round after first quarter, and we are not seeing a lot of repeat carryovers from last year. It's under 30%. So that means the work that we did at the end of the school year has made a difference in the first quarter of this year. Yeah, we're very excited. About halfway through those meetings right now with individual schools, and ART is one of their resources that has been very beneficial. We appreciate it.
good, thank you.
And so this is used, I think, as a diversionary sort of program in the place of law enforcement whenever possible.
Yeah, yes. So it's one of a couple that we have that are really showing that commitment to support the student as their middle school is a really challenging time for kids, and they test a lot of waters, and these are places for us to help them get redirected and then prioritize students that these interventions don't work with, and go to that next more tier 3 step.
And I was just going to say, with the student services PLCs, I think they, between counselors and social workers and the support staff, they're also able to use this as a possible prevention. It does require that parent buy-in and parent permission, but making those referrals, so that is something that is also part of not only that diversion set, but trying to be more preventive when we start to see those behavior patterns occurring, that this is another option that we have available. So sometimes it does come down to that parent giving us the permission to proceed, but I know that the counselors and social workers work really closely with Coastal to make sure that we're making those referrals as well.
I think that with Restore, like, we really have some good next steps that are kind of that in-between place for our middle school kids.
And
It's
this
also
program has-
it's also very helpful from a relationship building perspective as a principal to have some options other than just turning them over to law enforcement, especially when the SRO is sitting with you know, saying, maybe if we have something else, let's try that before we go down that road.
And it's so broad, like what Meredith said, we can use it for so many different things. It can be used for like a diversion, but it can be used for the prevention. It can be, there's so many layers in that programming that it allows a lot of different kids to be met, instead of just like, this only works for this group of kids. It works for multiple different issues.
And I'm sitting here as a former elementary principal thinking, why, is there a reason that we can't do this in elementary, Molly, or?
I mean,
is it just
we
not
could-
geared toward elementary, or?
So the
Because-
program's a little different for elementaries. It just has to be kind of like tweaked. There's 2 different curriculums per se, because of
Right.
course, elementary schools aren't gonna follow the same thing.
Right.
JCPC has not previously, we've not approached them about doing elementary schools. A couple of years ago, we did do a 5th grade group at Virginia Williamson, because they met the age range. But I mean, it can be done in elementary schools.
We're looking, with Restore too, and looking at an elementary component of Restore. We do have CIS in some schools, and so I've started that conversation with CIS because they do the facilitation for that. We feel like that's a good transition, step into that, and then we can pursue, elementary programming through an agreement as well.
And if there are elementary students that are gonna be starting in middle school, you can send those referrals too, cause obviously the release that the parents sign are good for a year, so at the end of the school year, if you're like, hey, Joey's still having some trouble,
Right.
there's this group gonna be offered, then we can kind of roll into the
Oh,
fall
that
and
would be
already have
good,
those
yeah.
referrals set up and ready to go.
So I'm sure we'll make sure principals know that and push that
I
forward.
have a question. So you have 24 currently
Yes, sir.
in the middle schools? I'm just assuming or making a guess, uneducated, that some parents don't agree. If you had 100% participation, what would that number be? Approximately.
I would imagine it would double, maybe triple. I don't.
So we have that much.
We don't
Pushback
get
from-
them before the parents have not agreed, so a lot of times the guidance counselor is who's kind of, I say the guidance counselor because that's who we work with most closely, but that referral source is who has already talked to the parent, because of course they know the parent, so they're saying, hey, I'd really like your son or daughter to be in this program, and so you say no to them, so I don't ever know that that even occurred, so I don't wanna say that it would be that high, but I know that some people, it's just a matter of getting that paperwork back, and it's not much, it's just a consent form. And then like a skills checklist, but it's just getting that buy-in from them sometimes, getting them to the school to sign something. Everybody knows how that can go sometimes.
And I don't have the specific numbers either, but I do know that, we've talked about this before, so it's not a secret, but the name of it, people are a little intimidated by aggression replacement. And so but that is a structured program, so we can't change the name of it, so helping parents understand really what the program is about. Sometimes they're just not interested in that additional support, but we do have, and I'm glad to ask for those numbers in terms of how many, are denied, but there is a large number that the parents will not sign consent for that.
But sometimes they'll call and say, my kid doesn't need anger management, and then we'll say, this isn't just anger
Right.
management, this is what else it does.
We do take those steps to try to answer any questions and make sure that they understand the why behind it and the skill development that comes with it. But that is a barrier.
So when the parent gives consent for the child, are they also required to do these parenting groups?
No, so there's not a parenting aspect
So-
of that group.
The parenting one is a separate program. So the parenting is another aspect of the Coastal Horizon Services. The ART is just specific for students in the school.
Okay, I misunderstood that then.
So there's Guiding Good Choices, which is also, it's a parent-family interaction. It's a very structured program as well. That one is outside the school setting, and so that one does involve the parents. They are not required to do that. Sometimes through different referral sources, DSS, DJJ, they may be required. The school system offers it as an opportunity. We offer it as part of our truancy procedures. We're not able to require that, but we do actually have a lot of parents that are involved, and it's a very positive experience. This one is a different path, and this is the ART specific for students during the school day.
Okay. Thank you.
And so what is the process for a student? Do we just, I guess my question is, do we send a letter home, or do we make a phone call before we send that letter home?
Generally, they'll reach out to the parent
Okay,
first to
good.
make sure that they're understanding, just like we
Right.
do with our in-district consent forms for any
Mhm.
services. We try to make sure, our forms can be intimidating, and if
Yes.
you're not sure what you're signing, you
A
don't
lot
want
of
to.
words.
So, a lot of words,
Right.
and so we try to make sure that the parent understands why, and then if there's still some pushback, then we have those conversations. There's only so far we want to push them. We don't want to break any communication that we have with them. We can often get them to understand that this is a positive thing. It's the idea of stopping some behaviors, or maybe providing some coping skills in
Right.
place of negative behaviors. But we do generally start with the phone call. We send the paperwork home, and then there can be follow-up when we're not getting it back. Sometimes we send multiple copies. We make those additional contacts.
Well, I think it's a positive thing to be
We've
able to
had-
get that type of help
Mhm.
on campus,
Mhm.
not have to take them somewhere else. So, thank you. Do y'all have any other comments or questions for them, or do you have anything else for us?
I do not, but I'll leave these. That way,
Okay.
if anybody wants one, they have one.
Okay.
It has my contact information on our office contact and just a little bit about the program, and that way, if anybody wants to
Okay.
pass it along to anybody, and if you need any more, I can get them.
Thank
Can
you
we
so
put this on
much.
consent?
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think so. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Tori, we put it on consent.
It was
Or is it just
informational.
information?
Oh, that was just
It's-
It's just
Okay.
informational, it's a
Okay,
request.
so no consent needed. Next is Mr. Pascal with student fees.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm coming before you with a more structured document that'll basically now go from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. And if you'll click on the fee structure, looking for approval of this. This is now basically what we would consider a max fee for each category, as opposed to, in the past, we've come before you with a list of every single fee, and it's only been for high school in the past. But there have been some situations where elementary and middle were they were different between the schools. So we just wanted to streamline it with a relatively max fee to get you to approve. And then we will share this after with all the principals to make sure that their clubs and organizations, sporting teams, all of those, anyone in athletics or whatever, fine arts would have a similar fee structure, and it would need to be less than that price for the remainder of this year and then the start of next year as well. That way they're planning into the summer with these fees in mind also. So coming before you, it is a part of our policy 4600. There is a fee waiver piece to this I wanted to speak to. We do not have a formal fee waiver because the volume of different fees that a club or organization might have varies, and those advisors do. And as y'all might be aware, if you're in a club or organization, sometimes you'll say, hey, we need this for the club or the trip that we're going on, but let us know if you do need any support, parents, just let us know on the side.
I just found a few recorders in my garage. I wonder if they're vintage now.
I bet
Even in the plastic holder. I mean, it hasn't.
Still ready to
yeah.
go.
It was only used for about 2 weeks.
They're all
Yeah.
yeah.
There's various ways for students to have a waiver for some of those fees. There's so few of them that are asked that we don't document it. We don't have it on our end. Typically, it might be something like a graduation cap and gown, as an example. At West, I would hear every now and then a counselor would come to me and say, hey, I know this kid's going to have a hard time getting this in. I'll take care of it. How they take care of it is they reach out to, at that time, Chuck, our guy at Hearth Jones, and he would say, hey, I've already comped you about 40 anyway or whatever, so I'm sending them to you, make sure the kids get them. Our counselors would then be the ones that would help discreetly get all that information out. All right. And that could be for different things. Prom, things like that might come up as optional. That's a little different. Those are optional, fees, so to speak, that are out there. That's a little different. We would work with them as needed. But those are, once again, by that advisor with the counselor, verifying that there might be a need. Otherwise, the fees are at a max amount on here that we would like for schools to stay beneath.
Do you mind scrolling down a little bit?
So the tech accessories, does that mean up to 200?
Yeah, at the moment, from what we found, there was no fee that occurred that was over that amount. So typically, lost a Chromebook, lost something to the effect of a higher price ticket item. At some point, they would have to be charged to their school account.
Okay, but that's per incident. Is that correct? That's not a cumulative amount?
So that was reported to us by the principals, and it depended. So some of them, based on whether they lost a charger or not, or a charger broke on a Chromebook. I don't want to say it to all the students too much, but the first one may not have a charge because the cord ripped, things like that. But if it's a pattern over time, and they've now lost 3 chargers in a school year, it might not be a pattern of the material breaking. It might be a pattern of behavior of not taking care of the charger. So we have a fee structure for that now. I didn't have that up here. This was just attached to it because that is a separate, larger fee structure for under technology when they break or damage or lose items there. I could get that to you, but that is really separate. We just wanted it on here because that was the max price that we saw that students were charged when they lost or damaged items.
But that was for an individual incident.
Yeah, it could be for an individual incident. Yeah, oh, sorry, I see what you're saying. That's not a fee that we charge every time. No.
It says up to $200. Someone could easily read that to think that I'm not going to be charged more than $200 for tech-related accessories.
We hadn't seen any report of anyone getting charged for over that, for one instance, if that's what you're saying. Multiple instances, yes, they could be.
Per incident.
So you're saying per incident, we might want to change the verbiage.
I'm just saying it's a little bit, it's not clear what
Yeah.
so typically a fee is what you pay,
Mhm.
and so, but this,
What I'm hearing, Mr. Pascal, is it should be per incident.
Yeah, or just,
Because that's
Up
what you're
to.
saying.
yeah, or
You're
just
basing
remove
it
it.
on, you're basing it on the max amount that we have record of in one instance
Mhm.
that, or in any instance that a kid has had to pay.
Correct.
So we don't want it to be confused as cumulative. We want it to be
Yeah.
per
because it
instance.
says up to 200, which you
Right.
could think that's up to $200 a year.
Yeah, and what might fix this is actually if I just remove the tech accessories from this fee, because it's really not a fee, that's a charge. If I removed it, then our documentation, whenever students check out Chromebooks and their other technology, all of that would go through technology anyway. And those charges for damaged or lost items are already notified, we're already notifying students and parents of that. Maybe it doesn't even need to
So
be
it
on
may be
here.
not a typical fee, it's just an expense that may occur at some point in time.
Right, so that might have been-
So no, I even,
Just on me for considering it a fee, but we're not charging them a regular fee for it, so I could just remove it. And y'all, if everyone agrees
That
with
might
everything
be-
else on here, we just approve it with the amendment that I'll remove the tech accessory
Are there any significant increases in these fees,
from,
previous fees?
oh, no, these are all.
because you really didn't have it.
Yeah,
posted
I've got
anywhere.
a Google form that all the principals filled out that gave me all the fees that they're currently charging for anything on here. No increases that I saw from the year before to this one. Like prom, parking passes, all of those have been pretty consistent throughout the years. And the reason for the parking pass difference is they typically have charged more for those last few at some schools for sophomores because of the, just we were running out of spaces at that point when we open it up to sophomores. We give everybody at a senior and junior the opportunity to buy parking passes.
Can you remind us what the $40 to $60, like they have to buy a parking permit? Can you just, I'm sure
Yes.
you've talked about it before, but I
No, yeah, so for parking passes for students, they do charge the $40 fee for all students, it's juniors and seniors. There's one school that charges more for sophomores, and that's their way of limiting, ideally, the number of sophomores that are driving because we just have so few parking spaces for that many students. We have enough for juniors and seniors overall at every school. So typically anyone who would want to park. So those are all charged $40. That fee goes into their general funds at that school.
Oh, because community funds.
So are you saying that one school charges more for sophomores to deter them from driving as sophomores?
I don't know if it's deterrent, it's just to minimize the overall, that number in that freshman class is what it sounded like.
So it makes it more difficult financially, so it might deter them. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, the one method that the other two schools are using for parking is that they require all juniors and seniors to sign up at the beginning of the year. And then they're basically on a wait list. And if their birth date is later or they get their parking permit later, their driver's license later, then they can get their parking permit at that time. So that's the way West and North do it currently.
Do they prorate anything, like say you get your license in February as opposed to, you've got them in September?
Second semester, they start cutting it in half.
Okay, they do, okay, they can do cut in half,
Yeah,
okay.
second semester. But a lot of times, I hate to say it, they don't have a lot of parking passes left by the
Right.
Yeah, we've sold out. As y'all know, with early graduation now that we have a mid-year graduation, some of those spots open up. So
Free up.
principals reopen up, maybe 20 spots at the January time.
I know we've just had the discussion about the expense for some of the testing at the end of the year, that,
AP,
at high school,
Mhm.
should that be on here, or does that come under another category?
For this school year, no, because fortunately the state, after you all came in and say, we'll cover it, the state
Right.
did come in and cover it. But it should be added for next year currently, unless the state changes anything for us. It would be added for AP exams.
Is this something that's gonna be sent home to parents, or is this just? for
Usually we
information?
post it, we have to post these online by our policy, but also state board policy. So we'll post these online and available for all parents. Right now, it's always only, until this moment, it's only been on the high school ones. I think, my predecessor before us, pretty much a lot of the fees really seem to come out of high school. But over the years, we've had some more questions for elementary and middle, so why not post it for all of them? So we're gonna put this same link on our website under students and parents, and then that will feed into the others.
So then it makes me wonder if we should leave the tech thing on there to let parents know that that's possible if their kid breaks a device.
Wasn't that part of the technology agreement that we
Yeah,
did?
and
Oh,
I think it's on the technology
Okay.
agreement that they signed.
Okay,
Yeah, they'll see it then, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I might be just confusing people by leaving it on here.
Okay.
Because it is a charge, not a fee. It's
Right, okay.
It's a,
okay.
As needed.
Do you want this on consent?
yeah, it could be on
Is it?
consent, yeah.
One more question about the yonder pouches. Do we have an update on the number of damaged or lost pouches? Like, how are the spot checks going? Are those numbers getting better? Because they were not great last year as far as
Yeah.
having to replace those yonder pouches, $25 a piece.
The question was,
Yonder, yes.
is there an update on damaged or lost?
Yeah, so I've actually asked to, if they have to take any out of circulation, to have them sent to me, and Ms. Timkins following the data. I have not received any yet
Okay.
with that, so it's been more lost. But we just sent a reminder out to them for first quarter, and I will take them all in, and then when I work with the representative, I'll show them the damages that are occurring. We did a really significant retraining at the start of the school year.
And then we're doing spot checks. Are we doing that?
Yes, yeah. And I will just say personally, in my time in middle schools, I've been just trying to do one kind of walk through random rooms, and I haven't seen a phone out yet, not one.
Good.
And I'm, at probably 3 or 4 middle schools every week, and just kind of do a walkthrough with that. And it has, we've not received any parent complaints.
Ms. Rhodes is doing it at the pilot program at the high school. She's done several, and it's actually helped teachers quite a bit too, because
Yeah.
when students aren't weren't using it, now they are, if they were trying to get away with not using it.
We're still working through with the kids. I mean, they're receiving steps for violations. But I think it is definitely sort of our intent of seeing less device work. And we're just seeing in our walkthroughs in general, and Superintendent Cole can speak to this, even less Chromebook usage. So we are really pleased with the balance of technology that we're seeing in middle school right now.
Okay, good.
Very pleased.
Any other questions for Mr. Pascal?
And just to be clear, with consent to take off technology accessory.
Okay.
Tori, if you'll remind me.
Everybody's
Or I'll
clear on
remember
that?
to take it off, but it just needs to be in the notes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Pascal, thank you.
Thank you.
Natalie Brosey, Ms. Brosey?
Hi, Larry.
Good morning.
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 I would like to introduce Ms. Susan Powell. She is a teacher at South Brunswick High School who is working on her doctorate in educational leadership and is currently completing her superintendent internship. She has expressed an interest in the human resources function, and so she's been working with our office since this summer. And I've asked her to join me this morning because she's been working very hard on 2 of the 4 policy amendments that we're bringing to you today. So thank you for your work on that. That took a little bit off of me, and she did an outstanding job. This first policy proposed amendment is one that she worked on for us at the request of the Transportation Department. It has been our practice that our bus drivers safely transport students to their designated locations in the afternoon, and that includes ensuring that our pre-K through first grade students are released directly to a parent or that parent's designee at the afternoon bus stop. If no one is there to receive our pre-K through first grade students, then our bus drivers return them to the school to stay with the administration until a parent can come to the school and retrieve the student. We do not want to leave anyone unattended at a bus stop on the side of the road. And so this policy amendment is just to align with what our current practice is, just to put it in policy to back up our school bus drivers when they have to return a student to the school. And so this is a first reading. If there is any feedback now or later, we welcome that, and then we will bring this to the December meeting for a second reading.
I think it's needed. It's what we've always done.
I was gonna say, we've always done this, it just hasn't been in the policy, and we felt like it needed to be in the policy.
Right. Agreed.
And that's a lot of what we're bringing to you today, is trying to tighten up and align our policy with our practice. This next policy on substitute teachers is actually, it would be an additional regulation, a clarifying regulation of that policy. So currently we have substitutes are only scheduled for our teaching positions or ECTAs, because those are the positions that the state provides funding for substitute teachers. So for any other positions, until the person exhausts all of their available leave and goes off of payroll, we're not able to hire a replacement for that position. But it's come up in discussion lately that that may not be the best thing for students in some specific situations. And so the HR team would like for the board to consider this policy regulation that would supplement our current substitute teacher policy and allow us to provide a substitute coverage paid out of local funds for these positions if their time away from campus exceeds the length in that middle column. So just using the first one for example, if a school nurse had to be out of the office for longer than 2 weeks, we feel like that it would be in the best interest of students if we could put a substitute or a contracted nurse in that spot to continue coverage. And again, the biggest difference between this and the teachers is that the state does not provide funds for these things, so this would have to come out of our local budget. Cabinet has reviewed these, and we talked to school administrators as well to see at what point in time does it really start to wear on other employees who are having to chip in or cover the responsibilities of these positions. And we feel like we could kind of float it or cover it for these lengths of time, but beyond that it becomes an undue burden on other people to have to do their job and a second job as well.
So we currently have a policy for substitute teachers.
We do, yes sir.
But there's no red line in here, there's nothing. What's the change?
So this would be a regulation, so at the top right corner where it says like the -R, It would just be a policy underneath the current policy in our policy manual.
This
So
is
it would
new.
still say 7430, and there would be a second one that said 7430R. So it would just supplement it. There would be no change to the existing policy on substitute
So
teachers.
all of this is a supplement?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. This would be in
A new,
a new document altogether.
There's nothing in that policy 7430 that gives the
Address.
district authority to hire substitutes in any of these positions that are listed in this regulation. Currently, what the policy states is that we're gonna have substitutes in the areas that are paid for by the state.
Okay.
So these would have to be paid for out of local funds. It would not come from state funds. But we do feel like in these particular positions, after a certain amount of time, it becomes a huge burden on the staff and can become a safety issue. And so that's the reason why we're asking the board to consider this.
And we kind of spearheaded this in some of our administrative absences we had, so
Mhm.
this, you know,
The only thing
We
I
have-
still question is the principal one. I think I've said before, I feel like it's different for elementary than it is middle and high, where you have 2 or 3 more helpers there. An elementary principal has 1 assistant principal, and if the principal is out, there's 1 person left there, not 2 or 3. I know some of the bigger elementary schools have 2. So I don't know if we can differentiate that to say that, you know, in the schools that only have 1 assistant principal, that maybe that starts after 1 week or something. I just feel like it needs to be, it's not really one size fits all, because, do you see what I'm saying, Mr. Cole?
Yeah.
Similar to the assistant principal and school counselor in the next line, we
Well,
differentiated between schools where it was the
Right,
only,
it's
where they
not,
only
I
had
didn't
one,
see
where
that
they
it
had
was
multiple.
differentiated for principal though.
Okay, you're talking about for principal.
Principal.
I was gonna say, we did differentiate for
Yeah.
assistant principal.
Because it's very different when
Yeah,
you're,
you have-
there's 1 person in that school with 700 kids than in a middle or high school where they have 2 or 3, you
that's an
know,
easy change. We can just say any.
other assistant
elementary
principals.
principal and then
Yeah.
middle and high school principal.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah, that would be my only,
So
What's
that's
Can
if
you-
it's known, right, because after 1 week, we don't necessarily know, they don't put in for extended leave until the 10-day, the 2 full weeks, so that would,
but you should know they're out, or somebody should know they're out.
yeah.
It's-
But I
But
guess
they don't
not
always know how they'll
necessarily
like the
ahead
time.
of time, I mean, if they're
I
sick,
gotcha.
right, so usually this is, somebody knows they're going on a leave of absence, so they put it in. And it has to go through Natalie for approval at the 10-day mark, so that's how we pick up the 2-week piece of it.
Yeah.
So 1 week might just be they have the flu when we don't necessarily know it's gonna be.
And in that
Long term.
situation, we tend to pull APs
From somewhere
from
else.
other schools to cover
Yeah.
the school.
So what you're telling me is there won't be a 2-week period where an elementary assistant principal will be by herself?
This
That's
is,
what it
it
was.
would not exceed 2 weeks.
It would not exceed 2 weeks.
2
And then-
weeks is a long time for 1 person to be in a school by themselves, is what
I
I'm
think,
trying to get at.
I think what he was talking about is that we would pull an AP from another school that
Okay.
has multiple,
Right.
once we knew it was going into that second week.
Okay,
And
perfect,
then that
that's
would
what I
give
wanted
us
to hear.
time to get somebody contracted in as a sub to
Gotcha.
move in to, like, you know, our retired principals and
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Okay.
And this is really addressing pay, which is more pay, and I mean, it's coverage as well, but this is a,
It would cost additional.
this would be additional, right?
Yeah, because we can
Right.
pull an AP from West to go to
Right.
Waccamaw if we need to.
Right.
It doesn't cost us any extra money.
Right.
Yeah.
It costs us.
But once you have a specific
coverage at
substitute,
West.
that's when the
Right.
cost is gonna come.
Right,
Right,
that's correct.
right, okay.
Okay.
We do that quite a bit. I mean, when it's needed.
Right.
So.
And I guess principals or assistant principals, somebody will let you know if it's needed,
Mhm.
or will they?
So, yeah, so,
Yeah, and we
Mr. Cashman
usually,
and I
and
approved the leave for the principals, so we know that.
after we have policy updates, typically at the next principal meeting, we
Okay.
share the updates with them right away. Okay.
Sounds good.
So does,
Good on
is
that?
it, are there any, are there any, I mean, as far as, I was looking at the all the way to the bottom. So it does, so you, are you going, like any general statutes, I mean, it's just basically, I'm just having, not having an issue with anything. What I'm saying is, instead of being 7430R,
Mhm.
it doesn't need to be a separate policy number. It needs to, I mean, the R Do we have
It's
any
just-
other ones? I
it's
mean,
just
I know
provides
it's-
to clarify.
okay, so we had a.
So you can add regulations to any policy, and all that does is give more detail on how we manage the policy. You don't have to have regulations,
Right.
but I tend to like having regulations in the policy handbook, because then it allows principals, they don't have to just call Pascal to ask this question. They can refer to the policy and see how we're gonna handle it.
So what I'm saying is you don't have to have a reference like the other policy refer, I mean, just, I
No, I
mean,
know
the
what
other
you're talking
policy
about at the bottom.
references and all that at the bottom. That's all I'm saying.
No,
It's
because
like
this
the-
one will speak more to like our procedure and practice as to how we're going to implement it, and so we.
See,
Yeah.
I'm just a policy.
I think that's a good
techie
thing, though.
guru.
I love that,
So
though.
anyway, that's just,
It's
okay,
more
that's fine.
Makes it all
information.
clear.
So you have to
Yeah.
have all the, yeah, that's fine.
I mean, just to go back like to the fee structure, see, we can add that as a regulation in the policy handbook underneath that specific policy. And then it's there for anybody to refer to whenever they want,
Right.
in the policy
Yeah,
handbook.
just tagging that, that's fine. In other words, reference, see policy 7430 for what, you know, all that stuff, so anyway.
And to be clear, I don't mean that you have to contract somebody if an elementary principal is out after a week. I just want to know that an AP or somebody will be pulled,
Right.
that they'd have support.
Yeah, we've always done that. We're just looking at these situations where, you know, maybe a principal or an AP is gonna have hip replacement surgery or
Yeah.
something, and they're putting in, you know, they're gonna be out for a month.
Right.
And, you know, we gotta look at maybe doing something a little more formal than just pulling APs from west or north.
So intermittently, if someone was out for 3 days here and 2 days there, you would find support for them at their
As
school?
needed. I mean, cause there might be one day where at that particular, school, the assistant principal says, you know, we got 5 IEP meetings scheduled, that I'm gonna be doing IEP meetings all day, so either someone,
Yeah.
I'd love to have someone to come in and help me with the IEP meetings, in which case it might be someone from the EC department that would come in and support so that AP could run the school.
Mhm.
Or if the AP is gonna do the IEP meetings, then we're gonna bring in another AP to sort of handle
Right.
discipline and that sort of thing. But then other days, there might not be any
Right,
IEP meetings,
right.
and it's fine, so.
Well, our next policy is Policy 7503, teleworking, which outlines the very limited circumstances under which teleworking arrangements may be necessary or required or beneficial for the school system. Most commonly, it's the result of weather-related closures or public health emergencies. Our recommendation here is just to revise the approval process for teleworking, to direct all teleworking requests to the superintendent for review to assure consistency in the application of the policy, that we're being consistent all across the county. Again, very limited circumstances where this would be necessary outside of something that impacts the entire school system, but because it's so few in number, we feel like the best opportunity to ensure that that's consistent is to direct those to Superintendent Cole.
Can you put and or assigned as well? I mean, usually you have superintendent and or assigned in there, or is that, or does it,
I mean,
is that safer? I mean, I don't know.
it
It's
can
just a
always,
technical thing.
Designate.
It's just a technical, I
Yeah.
don't know if it has to be in there or not, but anyway.
Do you want it to say or designate on the second reading?
I mean, we can add that in case I'm having hip replacement surgery.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, sometimes typically and or.
Golfing too hard? All
It's
right.
technical, I know.
Okay.
Are you
I'll-
anticipating that?
No, I'm not.
Nothing.
Okay.
He's gonna have hook-related
I
surgery.
do have
Yeah.
that. Might throw a shoulder out.
Okay, I'll make
On
those
to the next
adjustments
one.
and bring that back for the second reading. And our final policy amendment is one that Susan also worked very hard on. And there's kind of two different pieces to this one. So our leave policy explains the Board of Education support for our employees to have leave available to attend to personal matters or professional or civic matters, while also balancing our need to provide effective instruction for students. So the first proposed amendment relates to the child school involvement leave that we approved earlier this year, granting 8 hours of paid leave to our employees if their child is enrolled in Brunswick County Schools and the principal can find coverage so that they can attend parent-teacher conferences and things of the like. We received several questions along a similar vein, just asking for clarification to the wording of the policy. So basically what we've done is inverted the paid leave and the state's unpaid leave. State provides 4 hours unpaid. We provide 8 hours paid if they meet those requirements. So we're cleaning up the language a little bit and just flipping the order of those to hopefully provide greater clarity to the supervisors. They were reading the first line that said that the state would provide the 4 hours unpaid, and they were stopping and saying, whoa, I thought it was 8, and picking up the phone to call their supervisor or to call HR. So we feel like just inverting the order of those should take care of those questions.
Does that, inverting the order, invert the, who's initially responsible? I mean, if you've got only 4 hours you need, then who, and it shows, you understand my question?
I think so. So the way we did that is to say that they provide the paid, we provide the child school involvement leave for all employees who are parents, guardians, and so on, that they can receive 8 hours of eligible leave if they're enrolled in Brunswick County Schools, and then the very next says if they're not enrolled, they can receive up to 4 hours unpaid. So I don't think there's room for them to confuse the two because the qualifier is in the same sentence.
Okay.
That they must be enrolled. So that's the first part. And then the second amendment to the same policy is with regards to our section on religious observances. So it's just providing some additional information that's already been part of our practice. It's already been printed for years and years in the state employment and benefits manual. But we have more employees who have been taking advantage of the bona fide religious holiday, and how that's administered is if they notify and receive approval in advance, they are not charged any leave time for that absence as long as they provide a plan to make up the time with their principal or their supervisor. And employees have a maximum of 2 days in any given school year that they can request religious observance leave. So we're just adding in the clarification that's a maximum of 2 days per year. And that's the only substantive change of this, is just providing that detail in there that they can apply for up to 2 days. And when they submit their leave form, they also provide the plan for how they're going to make up that time with their supervisor. Any questions with that one?
Any questions?
Thank you, Susan, for your work on those, and
Thank you so much. That's all of the curriculum committee. Ms. Cook, I think you're next.
All right, we'll move on to,
Operations.
welcome to Operations Committee. Mr. Larry Smith. Ready or not?
Good morning. Mr. Cole, do you want to talk about the development escrow first? It's on the
Yes, just, there were a couple of things. First, on the development and escrow agreement, that is specific to the 7 States North property. Just needed to, if at all possible, get that, to keep that ball rolling at 7 States North, to get approval from the board of the escrow agreement. We decided to put that out as first read today. You've been provided with that escrow agreement. Hopefully, I didn't know if there would be any discussion today or not, but the idea would be for that to be on action at our next meeting on December 2nd, or on consent, whichever one you guys decided to put it on.
I didn't have any major questions. I asked this to be put on for a first read, just so everybody had time to look at it before the meeting, and if we had any questions, we could discuss that here today to have it approved at the next meeting. So I didn't know if anybody, after you guys looked at it, had any issues with the way it was now. So. And I mean, we still have time between now and the next meeting too, if questions arise, and we could have an additional discussion at our next meeting as well, so.
okay.
And Mr. Smith, one other thing, members of the board, I shared a copy of the Jackie's Creek revised plat with each of you, and prior to the meeting today. I would like, if at all possible, in the interest of time, if the board could approve this revised plot. Our attorney, Mr. Manning, has advised us that it would be best to sort of keep the ball rolling on this. The closing on that property right now is being held up by our approval of this revised plat. The biggest change is that the property line has been moved such that the road will now be on the seller's property and not on our property, which created a change in the acreage. And I believe that our initial map showed that we would be purchasing, I think it was right around 61 acres. That estimate now, although we haven't gotten the exact number from the seller, that's what will happen next, is we'll nail down that number. Right now, the estimate is right around 53 acres. But again, I think that we'll be in good shape if we can approve this revised plat with the understanding that it is not 61 acres. That the estimate right now is 53, but I think we can be clear about that in what we're voting on, that it is less than what the initial property was because of the change of moving the road onto the seller's property as opposed to being on our property.
I'll make a motion to approve it with Mr. Cole's background information.
All right. Motion by Mr. Barker, do I have a second?
Well, just to be clear, the exception, what, you want to restate that, Mr. Cole?
The exception is the original property plat showed, I believe it was 61 acres and some change. That was when the road was going to be, the road, how was that? The amount of property changed when we moved the road onto being on the seller's
Which is
property.
accounted for in this plat.
Right, that's correct. So I think the estimate I saw was right around 53 acres, but that's not exact. We haven't nailed that down yet. That's what Mr. Manning will be working on with the seller next, once we approve the revised plat.
But that is in regard to Upland's, it doesn't have anything to do with the road, it's to do with wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
On the border, right?
Because the contract
Yeah, okay, yes, the wetlands.
Just
as
want to
well.
clarify.
Mm-hmm.
The matter of the right-of-way is addressed in this plat,
Mhm.
and that's no longer, none of the right-of-way is on our property.
Correct. And then
The
wetlands
difference now is that we, based on some information from Mr. Manning, we are only gonna hopefully be billed for 53 acres because of this wetlands calculation.
Correct.
So I think what we would want to say is that we accept this plat. However, it is not an acknowledgement of the total acreage
Because we don't have that number yet.
that is going to be used to calculate our purchase price.
Right.
I will withdraw my motion, Mr. Gainey, you can make that motion.
Well, I mean, that would be my motion.
Yeah.
It would be that we accept the plat as presented with the understanding or the acknowledgement that we are not agreeing that the acreage shown on this plat is going to be the acreage that we are to be billed for
Correct.
And I will second
in the
Mr. Gainey's
final,
motion.
at closing.
Correct.
Okay,
We
so
have a
I'm a
motion and a
second.
second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so
I
we'll
made
let
that
you
clear.
move on so that you can have everything else locked up on that. All right.
Okay, a couple items today. The first item I want to talk about is really just an information and discussion item. I wanted to update everyone. As everyone's aware, Union is at or near capacity with their students. And I wanted to kind of update you and give you some options that we were probably need to look at to deal with that over the next few years. You'll pull up the first slide. Okay, if we added let's go down to the graph. Okay, so here's where we are. Union, the gray line with the dots, that is Union's building capacity without modulars. So that indicates the capacity for the school as far as cafeteria, gym, parking, and that number is 626. So we moved 2 modulars there this year, and that gives us 4 total. So you see the 25, 26, the gold line or yellow line, that's 706 is currently their capacity. The 687, as of last Friday, that was the number of students they currently have this year. They were projected at 710 this year, and they started the school year about 30 below that, so that was kind of good. It gave us room for a couple classrooms but you see they're gaining students at 687, and so there's a decent chance they're still going to get to that 706 projection sometime this year if they continue to gain like they did last year. So the green line is the demographic projections that our company does for us each spring. That's the most recent numbers. So in the next 3 years, up to around 2930, you see that they're projected to grow up into the high 800s, which that school is not built for. To meet those needs for that school, because they have absolutely nowhere else to put a classroom. We have maxed that school out. We've built walls. We've divided rooms. And if they get past that 706 number this year, we're going to have an issue. Teachers basically are going to have to get on carts. Your art teacher, your music teacher, and go room to room, which is never ideal. So at some point, we feel like we're going to need to add a modular unit there to get us through a few years until we may have other options to look at. Once we build a new school in the north end, and we can look at other options. An 8-classroom modular there would put us at that yellow line of 866 capacity. So you see that would probably meet our needs until close to the end of the decade if we went with an 8-room modular there. There's also an option for a 6, which is about 120. So that would be, that number, if you went with a 6, that number would be 826. Any questions on the graph?
No, so go back up to the cost. So when we're talking about modulars, I'm visualizing.
This is not like an individual modular unit.
This is like one of the ones that leave in middle
big.
school.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
All right,
Yes,
so that's
sir.
what I'm saying. I'm always picturing 2 different things here.
Yes, sir.
The one like we have at Leland Middle School is a nice,
It's a 10-room.
yeah, I equate that to like a modular home as opposed to a mobile home, right?
Right.
So, because that is a safer building.
It feels a little bit more like a school.
It feels like a school when you walk in. I mean,
Yeah,
the one
it's
in
held up
Leland-
very well at Leland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More substantial.
So I want to make sure that when we're talking about putting these in as semi-permanent structures, essentially, that we're going with the nicer modular, not some, does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it would be very
Yeah.
similar. We've looked at the models, and they're very similar to what's at Leland. It'd be
Okay.
that type of building. It would have a canopy, the decking, we'd have sidewalks to the building. It would have its own restrooms, of course, water, everything. It'd
I
be
forget who was with that.
just like that.
Mr. Gainey, weren't you with me at Leland when we went through that
Yeah.
just a little while ago?
Yeah, that's 10 years old now, and it's held up well.
Yeah, and it feels like a school inside. It
Right.
doesn't feel like you're in a construction trailer.
But the difference at Union is we don't feel like that we need to purchase one as a permanent structure there. Because long-term, we don't feel like that's the best option at Union, is to have an 850 elementary school there. Because like I said, the school is really not built for that. So this would be a lease of a modular building. The startup cost, you see the delivery and setup, then when they came and got it, the removal, so that's around close to $200,000. The monthly charges for an 8-classroom is $12,484, which comes to about $150,000 a year. So the question probably becomes, do we need to look at it for next fall based on the projections that we see, and knowing that if they go up over 700, they're not going to have much room, because I'm not sure we could get it in by the start of next fall at this point right now. If we started doing design, looking at our stormwater issues, permitting, we just got the ones at Lincoln and Union going recently. But we feel like if we started soon, we could get it in, if not at the start in August, very soon afterwards. Sometime during the early part of next year, they would have access to this capacity. And that would take care of our issues there. It's gonna be the same cost, delivery and setup, if we go 2 years or 3 years there. The difference being the monthly charge for, if we wound up having it for 3 instead of 2, it's gonna cost an extra $150,000. But that is good insurance. If we have, if they somehow gain 20, 30 students in a quick period, and you either have teachers on carts, or you have to look at other options of redistricting in the middle of a year, which we know would be a bad impact on families and students.
If we know we're gonna need to ask these.
We looked at 5th grade possibly at Charlotte. They wanted us to build a 2,500 foot queuing lane there to meet traffic needs, because traffic's already rough there. And they don't have a great exit to build anywhere else out of the school, so there will be a lot of issues there. So that's not a great option. So looking at it from all angles, and we've talked about it a lot in cabinet over the last few months, we really feel like this would be our best option. And if you wanted us to, start looking at it for next year, we would do that. I think if we don't look at it for next year, we're really taking a gamble, capacity-wise.
Can you go back to the projected population?
Yes, sir.
So there's 20 classrooms, 20
We
students
count
per
on
class.
20 per class, yes, sir.
So if you did 6, you would be at
826 with your
826,
capacity. Mm-hmm.
which would be,
Kind of gets you to that 28, 29, and then, 29, 30, you would probably, if projections stay right, which they look pretty close, we'd probably go over again.
And it really depends on the age of the student that shows up. I mean, it's less than 20 by law in K3. 4th and 5th, you can get larger.
And the difference in an 8-room and a 6-room per year is about $47,000 per year in the rental fees.
so you had the 6-room projection on here, right?
I do on the other sheet.
So
The
that's
6-room is
680.
$102,000 a year. The 8-room is $147,000 a
Well,
year.
I mean, the total cost is 688, what, 8 something, it's almost 200.
866, yeah. The setup, there's a little bit of
So
setup
it's almost
reduction.
$200,000 difference.
Mhm.
And that's over a 2-year period of time.
Yes, sir. I think it would probably wind up staying there 3, based on our new school construction estimate.
And the problem is you put the 6th classroom in, and you go, oh crap, we need 2 more classrooms. That's not,
You gotta take it out and put another one in.
I'd rather have more space than not enough
Yeah,
space.
same.
That's
Okay.
what the-
If you could, is the other slide there? This slide I added. This wasn't in your packet, but I added this yesterday. Tori was nice enough to put it on here. So this is an idea. If you come up to the school, the first entrance there goes into the bus parking lot, the side of the school, in the cafeteria. There's a storage shed right there in that red outlined area that's near the cafeteria and the 5th grade extension. That would have to be removed. It's not a huge deal. The only thing they have in there is excess furniture, which we can store at our new warehouse for them. Then that grassy area right there, we think you gotta come 30 feet off the building with anything you add. But we feel like that would be, we've measured it out. It would be tight, but we feel like we could get the 8-room in right there. Then the only additional cost possibly would be the storm drainage area. It's the area to the blue. Right now, that's kind of a cavity. We feel like they usually work with us, stormwater permitting, when you have a temporary structure, not a permanent structure. So if we told them we were looking at probably a 3-year building lease, we're not moving in any additional students, it's just natural growth. And then we told them we just want to have maybe a dry basin there. We don't feel like it would cost that much to mediate that area to use as existing drainage, so we don't think it'd be a large expense there.
Is that not in the current expense calculation?
Just under impact fees.
So it's currently accounted for?
Yeah, there's $100,000 in for impact fees, and I put that in there for that reason, part of it. Other thing is you gotta add, I think it's 2 parking spaces per teacher. So we'd be looking at having to do an additional parking area too. And that's also included in our impact fees I put in. But I think it'd be a solid plan to get us through, like I said, to near the end of the decade when we can look at our other options on that end of the county. So,
what
not
kind of
asking for
action?
consent, just information. If you guys can tell Mr. Cole, let's start this process, let's get some design work done on this for next year, then that'd be our first step.
So, so the permitting part of it is still unknown. In other words, they may permit it for 8, they may permit it for 6 or whatever. I mean,
Yes, sir.
that's
Yes,
still
sir.
not known.
Right.
What's the pleasure of the board? Do you, recommendations?
Larry,
Mr.
remind
Cole?
me, remind me, how many kids short we are right now at Union from the, projection? Was it,
We're at 687,
23,
the
isn't it?
projection was 710, so that's
23.
33.
so we're 33 students short.
No, I'm sorry. that's
23.
23. My math was bad, 23.
So we're 23 students short. And we're not at Christmas yet. Remind me, the year before last, when Union grew a lot,
Yeah.
it seems to me that most of those enrollments came after Christmas.
That's what,
That's
I
what
I met with
you-
Mr.
discussion.
Jennings Friday, and that's what he said, that, I think Molly, you reported those numbers yesterday, was in the 30s.
So it was 605 was the original projection for 2 years ago, and they ended at 612. So that was 23, 24, so 2 years ago. And then last year was, projection was 624, and they ended at 662. So was the one that had the 40.
That was in, yeah,
And that was a
almost 40 students.
substantial number after Christmas.
So, and
Or
It was
subs-
just,
or-
it was actually throughout the year, yeah,
Okay.
it was, on the 10th day.
But it
they
continued
were-
after Christmas. I mean,
A
They
lot
were
came in
652 on the 10th day, so they added 10 throughout the year, so that's not.
Okay.
it
So
was
you
right.
added
Okay.
10 after September, sometime in September.
okay.
Okay.
I just, I mean, my recommendation would be that we do this with an 8 classroom, because we pay the demographer to give us projections to help us make decisions like this. So far, it's been pretty accurate on these. I mean, I think when you can get, in a size school like that, if you can get it within 20 students, I mean, that's pretty accurate. And I feel like by the end of this school year, Union is gonna be very close to that 706. And I just don't know why we would take that chance if we don't have to. It is very difficult to teach art and music in an elementary school from a car.
We did it during COVID, and it was really.
horrible. I mean, you can do it, but I don't know how effective it is,
Right.
is what I would say.
Can't
'Cause
drag all those instruments.
everything that you
Drag
need
them.
has to fit on that car. And I think, this is just, I hate that I feel like we have to spend this money, but this is where we are
Right.
when our schools are getting at max capacity. And, if we were gonna try to pass a bond that built everything that we need, it would go well beyond what we're asking for. So we've gotta find
If we
ways,
did
we've gotta
a-
make investments to get us through.
If we did a Leland type structure and it was permanent, it would cost over $2 million, we feel. So you can look at the cost versus that. And then if you did a permanent addition there, you're probably talking $20 million. So you can look at the cost versus those two.
It's a good stopgap.
Yeah.
So-
Yes.
Well,
I
and,
mean,
and a
it's
permanent
basically-
addition couldn't come for 3 years, even if we approved it today.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It wouldn't help us
And we
in the
need
next 3
this
years.
now,
That's correct.
I said start working on
But,
it.
as I say, do I have a
Yeah.
motion?
because what we don't
Go
want
ahead.
are those students in the building to know where to put them.
Okay.
So,
We'll get
know
design
that it
started
takes-
and,
But I mean, you guys need, the longer we wait, it is a longer process now to get things permitted and done. So right now, we're not 100% sure we could have it in place by first day of school in August, but it would be close.
right.
But the longer we wait, obviously that pushes that out. So
But-
it's up to the board to decide.
You said this was just for information, so would it help you move it along if we voted on it today?
Well, I've got funding I can start design work with, and that's really what I want
That's
permission
what I was gonna ask
to do.
about the money.
Yeah,
So,
let them design where it would go, how it would fit, and the stormwater
And you'll bring
issues.
something
And then
back
I'll
to us.
come back and update you.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, second, today, we did a lot of athletic work in our bond in 2016, and most of the projects went really well. One project we had a lot of trouble with was the West Brunswick High School tennis court installation. It was put in 22, and they've been playing on it ever since, but David Barber, David, I want you to come up. He did this project, and he noticed immediately that there were some blistering issues and some cracking issues on the court, that he has bird dogged this company, and he did a really good job. I'm gonna let him go through the timeline of events that have led us up to today and where we're at with it.
Is this blistering of the coating they put on it or the
Yes,
asphalt
sir.
itself?
It's the coating,
Okay.
mainly, yeah. There is a few little asphalt issues, but nothing major.
Okay.
I'm not sure you have the, course of events in your packet or anything, but, just a quick run through it. I first, the court striping and the finishes and the benches and everything went in on, February the 28th of 2022. And I went out and done my inspection on the same day. That's when I first started noticing the blistering of the surface. On 6/30/22, we sent a letter to the contractor for court repair completion. We wanted it done by July 15th. I was trying to get everything ready for the upcoming tennis season. Then on 8/31/22, between that time we had some, going back and forth, but the contractor asked us to reduce his performance and payment bond, and we hold the balance of the contract. That happened on the 31st of August. After all that was decided on the 28th of February 2023, the contractor, he got us a proposal to resurface all the courts to repair that surface. I received that by email on March 21st of 23. September the 24th, 2024, I received a phone call from the owner, Mr. Brown, that the measures that they had taken to repair the deficiencies were not working. And then in September of 2024, September 8th, I received a letter, or we did at the office, from their attorney, stating that they had delivered a finished product and would no longer take any further actions to correct the deficiencies. So that's, so in November the 13th, 2024, we scheduled a virtual meeting with our attorney. We discussed, our course of action. So we then contacted the bonding company. In April of 2025, we sent a letter, the contractor default on bonding. Then July 2025, the contractor's attorney, they sent a new proposal to us to repair the courts at West Brunswick High School. August 29th, 25, the contractor's attorney sent a letter agreeing to the proposal. So right now, we're just kind of waiting on approval for us to move forward with their proposal.
So the key is to point out that it's not gonna cost us anything at this point. They're gonna do a total, basically, they're gonna redo the court. They're gonna mill it down, they're gonna redo the asphalt, and they're gonna redo the surface at no cost to us whatsoever. And we feel like, this time, hopefully they'll get it right. but like I said, David has followed this through with photos and documentation from day one, and they were trying to walk away from it. But I think when they went out and done their testing and boring and saw the issues below, and that they weren't through any fault of our preparation, but their work, that they had no choice, they felt like, but to redo the court entirely.
So when you say they're having to take core samples, does that mean the subsurface is not good?
That's what they tried
They
to.
questioned it.
Okay.
They tried to say that the way it was graded out, our engineers, when we designed it, that the water was flowing under the courts.
And that was causing the
the
problems.
pressure coming up. So our attorney asked them to have someone of their choice to go out and do their testers, do the bores. They did the bores, and they couldn't prove any waterproof or anything wrong with the substrate.
So they're gonna mill it, they're gonna resurface it, and then recoat it.
Yes.
Now, so far, we have not missed any court time during this process. They played the men's in the spring and the women's in the fall each year. And part of the reason this is taking so long is you can only do these type of repairs when the weather's warm.
Right.
So right now, it's late in the year, we're not gonna try to do it. We are gonna have to move the men's spring season at West. I assume they're gonna probably go to Ocean Isle Park in Atlanta.
That's correct.
Which is nice. But they will miss that spring season while we redo the court, and then hopefully we'll be good to go.
So they'll play at Ocean Isle.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they're already prepared to do that.
Well, if it's not costing us anything, they're gonna make it right, I don't see why I wouldn't
Right.
put us on
But,
consent.
yeah, us and Rod, we just felt like the board, I've kept superintendent aware of this and Mr. Pascal throughout this whole process, but at this time, we just wanted the board to know what was going on with it.
Does this need to go on consent, or?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, we
Okay.
appreciate you following up with
Yeah,
it and
keep it
not
up.
just letting it
Yeah,
go,
right.
because sometimes,
Well,
It
with
wears
that
you
amount of
out.
money, I felt like
We
they
hadn't had
needed to give
our
us the
ducks
finished
in a
product.
row, this would not happen, so.
we appreciate it.
Yeah, very good documentation.
So it says a settlement agreement, but, I mean, they're fully, we haven't settled on some amount less than what it's gonna take to,
They've signed it to an agreement from Rod with, there's a whole copy of a contract that explains the
Totally
whole
replaced.
redo process from start to finish. That they've
I'm
signed
just,
and
I'm
agreed
just
to.
asking, are we settling in any way? Are we accepting some of the financial responsibility?
No, we will
Because it says
release the held bond amount and the remaining part that we owed them that we withheld, which is $175,000 altogether. When that's completed to our satisfaction, then we'll release that amount to them.
Okay. And the attorney obviously has checked off on the agreement?
Rod's been a great asset during this process. Our contract attorney that we
He's
use.
read the agreement and he's signed off on it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, consent, all right.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Yep.
Well, that concludes the Operations Committee. We'll move on to
Okay, so we'll call to order the Finance and HR Committee, and we have Ms. Weesey up.
Good morning.
I think you're the one and only.
No. Can I say? So, I have budget amendments. Sure, I have budget amendments. So the first one I have is state budget amendment number 2. So this is, the state has taken the funding that they do have available to them. They have made the adjustments that they needed to and are divvying it out to the different districts. I will point out line 1 for sub-pay and the line for supplies and materials, that positive negative, that's a flip. We do an ABC transfer every year between those two pots of money in order to get the bigger bang for our buck, because we get more when we put it in salaries, and then we offset that in local by giving more supplies and materials to the classroom in the same amount. So that's an even swap on that. The SRO grant, they actually moved divisions at the state this year, so that moved to safety, something with public safety. They changed the way they provide the funding. They don't provide it in our state allotment anymore. They send us special grant funds for that. We had already budgeted for that for this year, so now we've moved it to our special revenue account. It actually came in a little less. We expect to see it come in a little higher later, but we'll see. The principal bonus pay, our developmental day tuition, that's for our EC pre-K kids that are out in the community and those centers. The state provides us with their tuition. The rest are pretty much standard. The stop arm, we got a little bit for a stop arm grant. And then that last one, Ms. Quinlan has been very active pursuing grants, additional funding to help offset the costs of these high-need kids that are coming in every single day. So far, what she's doing is working, so we got a little bit of extra funding in there for that EC program to the tune of almost $500,000, so we were excited about that. So that is state budget amendment number 2.
Is that money for salaries or is it for?
That's for some of
Programming
it's, most of it is for contracts for nurses, contracts for interpreters, for those high-need kids. The second one is federal budget amendment number 1. So all of the various programs listed here came to you in the spring and explained to you what their grants involved and what we were going to fund with those grants. This is just the state finally sending that funding down, so we're just wanting to go ahead and get that booked. And then the third one is our special revenue. This is all the money that kind of comes in dribs and drabs throughout the years, special grants that we've applied for. So the first one is our regular Medicaid funding that comes in for EC. That second line is culinary arts. They're out there doing catering and getting revenue in. The teaching fellow grant that Ms. Brosie's brought, the funding came down for that, so we're booking that. There's that SRO contract that we spoke about that we got the funding in from the state. The Spark MC grant, we received the funding for that. We had a number of our teachers apply for that broadband grant, so that the check came in here, and that's coming into us, and then we're sending the funding right back out to the schools for them to spend through their school funds. We got playground equipment. Last year, the Belleville PTA asked if they could help cover the cost of some of that equipment up there. That funding has come in from them, so that's just kind of an in and out. We went ahead and put that equipment in place, and that was booking those funds. And then we got some additional money from some local community members that we put in a STEM budget for our STEM groups. So that is my budget amendments today. Any questions? All right.
Just thank you so much for
Thank you.
always keeping this straight.
Yes.
It's a lot. You do a great job.
There's a reason my hair is curly like yours.
That's right.
Thank you.
So that's approved for consent.
Please, for
Okay,
consent.
for consent, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I did want to, members of the board, I did want to ask Ms. Brosie to come up and just give us an update real quick on the state health benefits situation
Okay.
for our staff members that will be changing come January, and I'm sure she and Ms. Wissy will be doing this together.
Okay.
Just because this applies to a conversation that we've been having, that
Right.
after we get a little update, then we'll get into that.
I'm not gonna let her go very far because this impacts her finances as well. But there's been regular discussion this year about how we can operate responsibly without a state budget, while also acknowledging that our employees are facing a significant increase in health insurance premiums this year, beginning in January. Initially, we knew that a little over 1,200 of our employees were going to face health insurance premium increases with these new salary-based premiums. We processed that information over the summer, uploaded our file to the state health plan, and then received notification in late October when we were in the middle of open enrollment that they wanted us to include local supplements as well in those salary figures. So our employees have all completed their open enrollment now. We have had to submit local supplement file back to the state health plan, and this is going to result in a second premium increase for over 500 of our employees. It's been shared with us that once the state processes the second file, that they will send notifications. They are going to reach out directly to our employees that are impacted. Again, we anticipate that to be over 500 of them right now. And they will be, we really don't know what that notification is going to say, if they'll have an option to change coverage or not. If they do not, it will be an additional increase for that many of our employees. So I know our board's expressed a desire and a willingness to help our BCS employees manage this financial strain in a year where we have no state raises. so that they can adjust to this increase in premiums moving forward that are here to stay, at least as we understand it right now. We do have, for our employees that were on the 70-30 plan, they will be paying, dependent upon their current salary band, increase of $120 a year to $660 a year, just depending on where their salary falls. For those employees who are on the 80-20 plan, they were paying $600 a year. That will now go up to the $800 to $2,000 range increase in their annual health insurance premium cost. And so we, again, we have 1,245 of our insured employees who are all going to see a health insurance increase, and another 500 who are going to get a second increase on top of that. So we wanted to share that information with the board and see if there would you like to have any discussion or have any questions for us about what that's going to mean to our employees starting January 1.
So we've kind of been talking, you know, individually about this and what might be a good thing to do for our employees. I know that the board is always in favor of supporting our employees, particularly when difficult circumstances like this come along as a result of state or federal decisions. I think it's very difficult the way that the General Assembly managed this in doing it within the fall and then changing midway, which created an increase in the impact on our staff members. And also during a year when we didn't, the General Assembly also could not come to terms with passing a state budget. So I think the discussion that we've kind of been having is around the idea of you know, one time for 1 year, just this year, of maybe providing a $500 bonus to all of our full-time staff members to try to offset this cost for 1 year and give them a year to sort of get ready for this change that is inevitable, that is going to happen. Part-time staff members, you know, that amount would be relevant to or relative to how many hours they work. It will be prorated, but for full-time staff members, classified and certified, a $500 bonus one time is what I have heard in talking, I guess, individually to board members. If we wanted that to go out in direct deposits to our staff members before January, we probably need to approve it today.
If we can get that approved today, we can get it in their November checks, possibly at the very least the 15th of December. I can go back to my staff and talk with them about how quickly we can get that done.
And we had an estimate on what that was gonna cost to do that?
Yeah, it's a little over $1 million, so $1,040,000 is what we estimated.
Which is a substantial cost. But I think that's.
Our non-recurring costs, we have the funding for non-recurring items. We may be able to build it in, you know, right now we have a continuing resolution from last year's level. We may be able to build that in. We expect to see our funding and arrears come in December from the state. And hopefully in January we can bring you a full accounting of that and then give you an update whether we do have to appropriate additional for it or not. I don't anticipate we probably will. So I think we can absorb it in this year's budget as it stands right now. With the one-time thing.
With the time-sensitive nature of this, I think we should go ahead and approve this thing. I'll make the motion to approve it.
Well, and again, I mean, just to let the teachers and staff know, we have had several individual discussions, you know, and I know the board is in full favor of, you know, being there for our teachers and trying to help absorb the cost, so I will second your motion. Mr. Barger?
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, so moved.
The only other thing was just, and this is not for any type of action today, but to just put it out there, I know that, again, we've been having discussions about some type of performance bonus for our teachers that exceed growth. I've been working with Cabinet to sort of hash this out with some numbers and what it would look like. And this is just for information, but what we've landed on as an idea is $1,000 bonus for every teacher that exceeds growth, according to state EVOS data. We would also like to up that to a $2,000 bonus for teachers that exceed growth that work at low-performing schools. And, you know, the honest reason why we feel like we would like to do more for teachers at low-performing schools is that they're working in our schools that are more difficult academically, and we would like to encourage our best teachers to consider working at our low-performing schools in order to help turn them around. They wouldn't have to, but it would be an option. It's a way that we could incentivize that. So obviously the numbers, you know, the board can think about that, take feedback from whomever you wish. But that's kind of what we landed on as a team. And then the second part of this would be to decide if we wanted to do this, do we want to apply it beginning with this year's teachers, or do we want to pay it out based on last year's data for the teachers that exceeded growth last year? So that's a decision that we would have to make. Obviously, we could do it either way. We could make it retroactive to last. I mean, we just got that data in, you know, so we could do that, or we could say this is about moving forward. So this is what we plan to do for teachers that exceed growth for the 25-26 school year.
I think we make it retroactive.
So do I.
And I think for the public at home, we need to explain that this is for exceeding growth, and that means that it is, you know, you exceeded what the state expectations were. Met growth, we are very happy for those teachers who met growth, and that means that our children got a year's worth of growth for a year's worth of instruction, which is what the state expects. But exceeding growth is a different realm, and we all feel that needs to be rewarded, and the state does give bonuses to the top, is it top 10 and top 20%?
It starts like at top 20%,
Right.
and then top 10, top 5, I believe.
Right, but we as a board would like to recognize everybody who exceeded growth. So even if you got the state bonus, you would get this on top of that.
Right.
Okay.
And this money is gonna come from,
It's gonna come from our fund balance.
okay.
And again, I say if you folks decide you wanna do it this year, let me just say this, to get into the details of it. If you wanna say that you would like to do it retro for
Retroactive.
this year's
Right.
group, and then moving forward for next year's group, and then see how budget plays out moving forward after that, rather than making it a recurring item.
Okay.
I say this because part of this is the supplements being added to the insurance costs.
Right.
If this is put in as a recurring budget item, that will then become part of
Yeah.
it. So we need to think about that as
Right.
well. So just if
Do we
we
need
look
to-
at
Well,
it
and I-
as
do we need to-
being.
And I would say, I think conservatively speaking, a big part of the budget impasse in the General Assembly right now is about taxes. And the plan right now is to have tax cuts over the next 3 years. And if that happens, I mean, I think public schools are 40% or more of the state budget. We're gonna see cuts in what we get from the state, which is then in turn going to impact our local fund balance. Or we have to start making some personnel changes because most of our money goes to people. So I think it would be a better idea that we just sort of decide on this on a year-by-year
Year-by-year
basis
basis.
and not make it a recurring thing, and let's see how things go with the state budget each year over the next few years. I think our teachers will be happy to be recognized in this way regardless, even just for 1 year. And then, you know, we'll see how it goes.
And then we're also recognizing them at the board meeting.
That's correct. And they also, all of their principals write letters of commendation letters for their personnel files. That's something that we started a couple of years ago as well. So they get a letter in their personnel file that documents the fact that they had seen growth for that school year in that subject and grade level, which is a really good thing. They don't really get checks anymore. It just goes right straight into their direct deposit, but.
But a letter saying they're getting a direct deposit.
That's
Yes.
really good.
Yeah.
That's right.
It feels good, yeah.
Something you hate.
So I just put that out there. I mean, the board can do with that what you will. That's not as, I don't think maybe as time sensitive as the $500 thing.
That can be
So
on the next board
Yeah.
agenda if we wanna do that.
That is a good point, though. We don't want it to
Too
be
much at
clumped
one time.
in to where it's,
It's part of
you know,
their
added,
salary and-
added of their salary,
Because
so we
they'll
need
do a
to,
look back if they
yeah.
know what's recurring.
Items.
year by year would be the smartest way to go with that.
But if we decide on it at the next meeting, when would the check be paid to them? Would it be before Christmas?
If we do it as an action item in December, we could do that. Otherwise, we could do it in January, which, I don't know about you, but for me,
January,
those
right.
January bills that come in, that's a good time for that. And remember, we are paying the state teacher supplement this year in December, so they're getting that
Okay.
state
Yes.
piece in December, so I don't think it's, the December date is quite as critical
And
as
to
it
not
used to be.
confuse it as a Christmas
That
bonus,
would
I would
be-
prefer we stay away
That
from
would
that.
be,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we will
It's a-
pay, we will pay this in separate, the 500, we can pay that in a separate check.
Okay.
So it's very clear that this is to offset state,
Yes.
Health.
state
The
health
health
insurance
benefit, yeah.
increases.
Okay.
Gracious.
I appreciate the board being
Thank you,
willing to
folks.
do that, because that was an unexpected thing. So
Yeah.
I think
We get a
that,
lot of calls
that is
about
gonna
that.
mean a lot, especially, you know, to our classified staff. I think it'll mean
Sure
a lot.
will. Thank you.
Motion to
Thank
close.
you, yes. All right, got a motion to go to close by Mr.
Second.
Barger, second by Ms. Cook, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting back to order.
We're back in session. Are we in session? This is actually a committee meeting.
It's just a committee meeting.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Yep.
Okay.